It was a 6-point Easter weekend for the town as we picked up wins at Derby and at home to Bristol City. And alongside me to look back on what can only be described as a fantastic weekend of football for the Hatters is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, the great escape at long last is finally in our own hands.
What a cracking Easter.
Brilliant weekend, as I say, and we're going to look back on all of it and preview the Coventry game right after this intro.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we're looking back on the games against Derby County and Bristol City. We'll focus more on the latter than the former, because the Derby game was a little bit of a while ago now, wasn't it? And we'll look ahead to the Coventry game, all in one preview here. Life has kind of got in the way for me and Jimbo over the Easter weekend, and we've got a presentation even on Wednesday night, so we're kind of a bit short of time. You'll therefore be short of time to watch it. So, Jimbo, we'll just whack it all in one and crack on.
Job's a good one, right?
Absolutely it is, yeah. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Easter weekend, it began Friday afternoon at Pride Park. A game that was, you couldn't get away from the importance of the game, right? We highlighted it in the preview. We concentrated more on that game than the Bristol City game because of the magnitude of that game in the preview. And I kind of sensed that when I got to Derby. I kind of sensed there was a lot of nerves. There was a lot of sort of tension in the away end. The concourse were buzzing, but you could tell people were singing to sort of alleviate the nerves that were starting to build, and kind of got a bit of a shock with the team selection as well. Don't think anyone expected Cal Naismith to be playing the holding midfield role, nor Lamine Fanny. That worked out really well. As it turned out, Lamine was a little bit further forward than the holding role. Clark was alongside Naismith. Millie Ali stayed at left wing back, and I don't think we were surprised with the game of football we saw though. Very aerial bombardment as we expected. And to be fair to Matt, he got that team selection. As I said in the sort of post-match chat I did with Deggy that we put on this channel, Matt got it spot on.
He did. It was a very encouraging first half and a very nerve-shredding second half. But they stood up to everything that came. Somehow, Matt Bloomswood has turned this defence into a mean bunch of so-and-sos. And I don't know if I ever thought that would happen. After what we've seen this season, one of the leakiest defences now, people struggling to score, whether they're going down the sides or pumping balls long. I mean, Mark McGuinness, what an absolute colossus of a performance. 19 clearances, 3 massive goal line blocks. He's been growing and growing under Bloomfield. And it's wonderful to see. It's remarkable. And, you know, whatever happens this season, if you can't see those things and those improvements and what's been happening under Bloomfield, then I don't think there's much hope for you.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're still firmly on this roller coaster of ups and downs, aren't we? Obviously, the last time prior to the preview of the Derby game that we did a podcast with the Blackburn game and everything was doom and gloom and, you know, woe is us and all of this, that and the other. And now the outlook is looking so much rosier. As I said, if we beat Derby, the whole outlook completely changed, and it did. Another goal for Millie Ali. If we do pull off the great escape, whatever that transfer fee was, 1.5 million or whatever it was, is peanuts, because those 2 goals, Stoke away to earn us a point, Derby away to earn us 3 points, are heavy duty in the Great Escape.
Well, big time, yeah. As much as the defence has been magnificent, obviously struggling to score goals was the thing until Bristol Rovers, which we'll come to. But
I mean, they played like Bristol Rovers, but it was Bristol City. Jimbo's been on a sort of drinking mission here. He's still a bit hungover from the weekend. That's how good it was, folks.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, if anybody saw me on Monday and I saw a lot of you and I shook hands, and if I looked I looked like a ghost, I pretty much was. So it was nice to meet you.
I spoke to Jimbo after the game. We often try and do a little debrief after a game because I walk through the main stand and he's at the front of the press box. He was there in body, but I'm not altogether convinced the spirit was completely there.
I mean, I was by the end of it. That match cheered me up, but I had an absolute bonanza weekend. It was fantastic, one of the very best, and football, music, a lot. Loved it.
Yeah, I loved that away end on Friday. I really did. If you were in that away end on Friday, give yourselves a pat on the back because we were all absolutely brilliant. Crikey, that second half went on and on and on. I think we all aged 10 years in that second half, particularly when that one got headed down to the geezer who Kaminsky smothered as he was getting a shot away sort of fairly late on, because we're getting to that stage where we're taking off all the attacking players and bringing on even more defenders. I mean, you know, if you're a defender and you play for Luton, you were on that pitch by the end on Friday. But at the same token, I never really sat there thinking they're imminently about to score here. You know, it wasn't like he was overworked, Kaminsky. I know McGuinness got him out of trouble with the goal line clearance that I think he tried to belt into Burton, but it come off his knee, didn't it, and fell straight to Kaminsky, which was relief to everyone that was around us. You're absolutely right, though. I mentioned it when I spoke to Deggy. McGuinness was brilliant. I didn't highlight as much the Naismith influence in that game, though, but reflecting on it since then, really, really calming presence in the centre of the park, and it just worked. It probably wasn't the game for Liam Walsh. The ball spent more time in the air on Friday than it's ever spent in the air, and we've put it in the air a fair bit this season ourselves. So he's got it spot on. The physicality of Lamine was much stronger than the less physicality of Tahith Chong, so that worked perfectly as well. Literally every decision he made Friday, Bloomfield, whether it was with the starting lineup, the substitutions that he made, literally everything was perfect. And by the end, we just had a row of 8 orange shirts on the edge of our box saying you can cross the ball as much as you want, but you are not getting to that goal.
Yeah, it was very much like that, wasn't it? I mean, at the time, I didn't feel like that. I felt like anything's going to happen here and they were going to concede, because that's the legacy of the last year, 18 months that we've had. But like I say, there's a change here. It's happened and it's happening now. That teams are finding it very hard to play through Luton, go over the top of Luton. You've got Christ Makosa, who was fantastic as well, just didn't have 19 clearances. He had 12 though, so he did. This is how many. I mean, Luton were top of the clearances for that game, match day week, by an absolute country mile. It was something like, I think 79, correct me if I'm wrong, 79 clearances, how much of a bombardment that they had to face against Derby. And they stood up to it, every one of them. And it's a real credit to where they are at the moment.
Yeah, we had more clearances than the average DFS, didn't we, on Friday? That's for sure. The goal was a picture of everyone who wants Nordas in ahead of Morris. You're absolutely well within your rights to have that opinion. It's absolutely fine. We put the Morris opinion forward, and it was Morris who won the header at the front post. If he doesn't win that, it's a simple clearance, and the chance is gone from the corner, I should have said. McGuinness is at the back post. Me with my coin on him to score first is collecting my money, but he doesn't. He pokes it across goal, and there's Millie Ali to slam home. Celebrations in front of the Luton fans. There were limbs in that Luton end, Jimbo. Trust me, there were limbs in that Luton end.
It looked like it, yeah. Wonderful. I'm starting to love backflips, I'm telling you. Loving them.
I thought he was going to knock Cal Naismith out, though. He got so close, Naismith, to go and celebrate with him. He obviously, I don't know if it was in a Stoke or whatever, but he didn't luckily he just backed off in time, because otherwise he'd have got another boot round his chops, like he got one around his noggin later in the game.
Yeah, he's been in the wars, hasn't he?
I saw him on Monday. He did a Q&A at that pop-up bar that they've put up. I saw him. He's got a cut from the inside of his eye right the way down to the side of his eye. He's taken an absolute batter in there.
Yeah, but he's all in for the cause, and there's a time and a place to have a conversation about whether he stays at the end of the season, and I'm looking forward to that, because I'm going to tell you now, there's only one answer to that, and we'll put it in the comments what you reckon, but we'll come to that. But brilliant. I mean, it was funny, isn't it? Because the Twitter sphere was all a titter before then, because in the press conference, Matt Bloomfield had been asked about Naismith, and given the sort of striker shortage that we now have, whether he'd thought about Naismith playing up front, because he played up front for Portsmouth and scored 15 goals in a promotion winning season, and that's all it was. And so he's responding to a comment, and people got the wrong end of the stick of that totally. Like that he said he'd considered it, which is, you know, I've considered dating supermodels. I still haven't done it. So you know, this is the context behind the words in it. And yeah, I expected to see Naismith on that team sheet. I didn't expect him to see a striker to fight that story, but and he played very well, and he had to, because he was not going to play the next game.
Well, that's the thing, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, listen, if there was lots of people wondering if Naismith was playing up front on the concourse before the game. Spoiler alert, if Naismith was playing up front, he would not have said that he'd considered Naismith playing up front in a pre-match press conference. That's not what he'd have done. He'd have played it exactly the opposite way. No, he can only play in defence, and you bring the surprise element forward then. Massive afternoon though, wasn't it? Got us level with Derby. One or two results went our way over the course of the afternoon, with Hull dropping points and bringing themselves right back into the game. And that was important, because we'll come on to that at the end with the state of the league table. Obviously, Cardiff lost at Sheffield United, who thankfully finally remembered how to play football. I mean, the managers have been coming and going like you won't believe. The revolving door in the Championship is well and truly in full swing, isn't it? I think 3 of them have gone over the Easter weekend. And talks that the Sheffield Wednesday manager's about to disappear for Southampton as well. It's kind of crazy, but it brought us on to Easter Monday. We all went into Easter Monday with an absolute bounce. Why wouldn't you? Friday was every bit as edgy as relegation battles are, and we were probably expecting similar on Monday against Bristol City, but first half we weren't disappointed, because that's exactly what we got. We got 2 sides who are clearly playing for a lot of stuff over the last 3 games of the season as it was then. Obviously we're fighting to stay up, they're fighting to get in the playoffs. Their need of a point was probably greater than ours. We needed 3 points really, particularly as the afternoon developed. We all knew what was going on elsewhere. We all knew Derby had gone 2 up on West Brom early doors. We all knew that Plymouth were 2 up on Coventry and all the other scores that were going against us. And yeah, not the greatest first half. It's not going to be one that lives in the memory. Town should have had a penalty for a handball in their box. Of course, we weren't getting that. We were getting nothing in that first half. Referee very much had one goal phobia, didn't he? It was that Oak Road goal. If you was attacking the Oak Road goal, you got every decision. Mm-hmm. First half, they got it. Second half, we got it.
Which is just as well, because the second half, whether you think it's a penalty or a free kick, I think Ted and Mengi should be seeing red, and he didn't, which is good. But the first half, ref gave everything to them, even though Miliali was getting battered by their 2 centre defenders, and a lot of the time unfairly. And then in the second half, he gave everything to Luton. So it was a terrible referee showing, but I don't care when it goes okay for you, sort of, well, whatever. But yeah, quite how he's doing the rounds in the Championship is beyond me, because I've seen other clips as well where he's just completely got it wrong, and I don't know what he's watching. Didn't really matter in the end, because the second half, yeah, it sprung into life. And the first half was pretty forgettable, but solid. That's the thing in it. You're like, that's okay. That's okay. You keep it nice and tight, because Bristol came to play, and you ended up scoring 3 goals for the first time since Watford, whereas Watford didn't. They weren't there, so that was a great result, obviously against arch rivals. But this is arguably, you said it to me afterwards, actually, when we spoke in the stands, and I'll make you right that that's the best performance of the season, because Bristol had something to play for. They've got a chance of being in the Premier League, and they've got very little change out of them.
And they're a good side. Do you know what? I didn't think they were at their place on Boxing Day. I mean, that was like 2 bald men fighting over a comb, that game. That was just absolutely dreadful, apart from that Scott Twine strike. And my God, was I happy to see him on the subs bench to start the game on Monday, given that that strike they did at Boxing Day. But yeah, I mean, the difference in this first half to the Blackburn first half, where we were absolutely flat as a pancake and you could tell that the intensity had gone, that Liam Walsh tackle 10 minutes in or whatever it was on the halfway line, very reminiscent of the 2 that he got sent off for, but thankfully this time clearly won the ball and made sure that the geezer knew that he was there as well. But that kind of was the first get the crowd going, kind of get everyone involved in it. It's just that sort of, we're here to play today, and okay, it didn't necessarily go our way in the first half. everything that we pumped along in that first half, Dickey was heading away. He was tremendous for them, you have to say. He had Morris sort of wrapped up and everything, but the longer it went on, like you say, we wasn't conceding ground, we wasn't conceding chances, we just wasn't creating or getting into those areas to create. We should say that the team's changed again from Friday, hasn't it? Millie Ali's gone and played up front this time. Amari Bell went and played left wing back. Ted Mengi came in at centre half, and Liam Walsh obviously came in for Jordan Clark. Lamine Fane went and dropped back and played the holding role that Cal Naismith played at Derby. And again, that team selection worked perfectly as well, didn't it? Because we wanted to get players on the ball. We actually watered the pitch before the game, which is the first time we've done that in a while. That says to me that we're gaining confidence going forward as well, because obviously a dry pitch when we're not using the pitch is absolutely fine, but they do use the pitch, don't they? So we're gaining confidence, and the players that you want on the ball maybe didn't get on it as much in that first half, Liam Walsh's side, but in the second half they really did, and we opened the scoring almost instantly, didn't we? I mean, we should have had a penalty, but we're not complaining because we've scored from the move anyway. The goalkeeper wipes Millie Ali out when he wins the header to get it above him. I didn't see who cleared it, but thankfully he only cleared it to Asgard, who did his trademark cut inside and curl it. I've still absolutely no idea how it's got between Asgard and the goalkeeper into the goal, but I don't really care, because that guy deserved a goal because he has been brilliant since he arrived.
He has. He's a proper player, and he hit that crossbar against Blackburn, and that could have made things a lot easier if that had gone in, or maybe even the Miliali one. But certainly he's been looking to do that, and hopefully people don't cotton on to that between now and the end of the season, because he's always looking to jink inside and have a shot, and he's got a great right peg on him, and he's scored 14 goals for Wigan, and a lot of them were stunners. We've experienced that ourselves when he was playing for the Latics. He stuck one in the top bins from a million miles away. So he's got that in him, but he was tenacious as well, and he was linking the play, everything you want from that position that he's currently in, and it complemented very well with Liam Walsh as well. Liam Walsh equally, one of that was his best performance in a Luton shirt, but he's had many since he's made that apology, since he's come back. I told you, didn't I? There was Liam Walsh, the Redeemer. He's certainly done that, and I think there can't be many, if any, people now that are holding any grudges against him for what happened, pre-Christmas or just around Christmas, because what he's done since he's come back in, he's lived up to the words he said in that social media post about wanting to prove to the fans that he wants to be it, and he does. The tackle was incredible because it raised the noise levels a bit, and it had been a bit quieter in the first.
Got a bit of energy into the proceedings, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. And that always helps. Something like that, or a chance, will always get the Kenilworth Road fans making the noise. And, from that sort of position, Luton grew into the game, and they were well worth the goal that Asgard scored, I think. Then the only signal was that the defence is so good at the moment, you can't really go over the top of them. You can't beat them in the air, but there's a couple of worldies being scored, isn't there? And that's what happened.
Yeah, indeed. I was getting ready for another half an hour of clinging on for dear life after the opening goal, but within about 3 minutes, that plan all went out of the window, didn't it? Mengi's header fell to George Tanner. Let's be fair to the guy. 99 times out of 100, that it's the TV studio at the back of the Kenilworth end, but he's caught it a peach. James Shea's reaction, doing the rounds on social media, tells you everything you need to know about that. And then I was starting to think, because every team's winning around us at this point. Hull are winning, Derby are winning, Plymouth are winning. I think Cardiff were winning at that point as well.
Fine, yeah.
Literally everyone's winning, and you're like, oh no, we really have to win this game. And then that happens, and you're like, oh, how is your luck? Because, even though we're playing much better, we're still not getting the rub of the green. The crossbar hits against Blackburn. Could have had a second against Derby on another day as well, which would have been nice, having predicted 2-0 when I thought I predicted 1-0. And then that goes in the bottom corner. You're like, someone give us a break, please.
Yeah, but now that game, and maybe even the Derby game, luck had deserted Luton for a very long time. I don't know how many like ladders people had walked under, black cats, the lot, that it had deserted Luton. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for a very long time, which is why the nervousness crept in, I suppose, when Derby went long all the time, constantly, and it was just being played in Luton's half. But they are getting that sort of luck and rub of the green. The McGuinness clearance on the line against Derby that went to Kaminsky, and then a few of the refereeing decisions at Bristol. And you need that as well. And if you're going to win anything or succeed at anything, promotion or relegation, you need a bit of luck. And you're struggling to find or think where it would come from. But that's a welcome thing as well.
You said earlier in the podcast that Matt Bloomfield has sorted this defence out. He has. He'd sorted it out before the Blackburn game. They scored with their only genuine chance at goal just because we lost that game. Didn't mean that he hadn't sorted the defence out. What he's also sorted out is the character in this side. Because now when it takes a hit, and it's taken a few hits recently, Stoke went ahead of us, Cardiff went ahead of us, neither beat us. Now when it takes a hit, its shoulders raise again, its chest comes out, and no, we are not beaten here. Whereas, I keep referring to it because we want to learn from the lessons of earlier in the season, whereas at the start of this season, they'll have gone and won that game, Bristol City, and they'll have probably won it 3-1 like we ended up winning it 3-1. The transformation that Matt has put on this side, and I don't think we're anywhere near where he wants us to be. In fact, I know he's not. I know we're not, because he alluded to it at the Meet the Manager night for those of you that were there. And thanks to everyone who came up to me at that night, and myself and Jimbo at these last two games. Your support has been fantastic for us and we really appreciate it. We're nowhere near where he wants us to be, but the character he's got into these boys, from a bunch whose confidence was under the ground to now being able to take a punch on the chin, which that was, because the euphoria of just taking the lead, coupled with the euphoria of Friday, teams could have surrendered, but we didn't. We lifted our shoulders, the crowd lifted, everything lifted, and in true Luton style, we went again.
He has done that, and you can see, again, whatever happened next season, and it's in our hands now to make it a decent end to the season. You can see the workings out of a Matt Bloomfield team and what that may be, hopefully in the Championship, but wherever it is, and it's defensive solidity, and they seem to be running harder. I don't have the stats on it, but I'd love to see what they look like. They seem to be running harder. I mean, they don't give up as well. There was you mentioned that a couple of games back as well, that a lot of things are being checked off on the route to being a good team, and never knowing when you're beaten is one of them. And that certainly was the case. And, because I thought, like you, and this may be remnants of, the trauma of the early part of the season that you're going to have to sort of get over eventually. Hopefully time's a great healer. You're just thinking, well, Bristol going to go and get something now. And that's the end of that. And not now. That's not this Luton side, not under Matt Bloomfield. There's a resoluteness. We talked about the defence and how hard it is to get through them. But then the final piece of the puzzle, obviously, is goals, isn't it? And they'd been threatening them, not getting them, and then to get 3 against a playoff chase inside that Bristol are, it was incredible, really. And also from the sheer nerves of that Derby game in the how many minutes they added on at the end, and ball after ball. You could almost enjoy a football match, couldn't you, after Izzy Jones scored? And especially because he scored, then Mengi didn't get sent off pretty much straight after. You're like, this is ours now. We've got this. And you can enjoy the end of a football match. Been a long time since you could say that.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah, 7 minutes at Derby, wasn't it? I've got to say, when he put the 7 minutes up, I was so relieved, because Naismith was down for a good 5 of that, and Kaminsky's time wasting was not subtle. It was, it was as obvious as it could possibly be. Hey, listen, Derby fans who were giving him stick, your goalkeeper went into reverse down here in exactly the same situation. So what goes around comes around, and all of that. So yeah, I was delighted when that 7 minutes went up, but then I thought, we've got another 7 minutes of this. Sorry, sugar, we've got another 7 minutes of this. I'm not James Shea. But really and truly, you'd know, we saw it out pretty well. And that is the thing, isn't it? We are seeing games of football out so much better now. I can't remember, someone will throw a really obvious one at me, I'm sure, but I can't remember the last time we've conceded late on. Whereas under Rob towards the end, it was an epidemic. Got to 75 minutes and it was like, how many are they going to score from here on in? Now, I can't remember the last time we've conceded a meaningful late goal. I know Burnley scored in injury time at their place, but the game was long since gone by that point. But I genuinely can't think of it.
No, and I think, well, I know that there's been subtle tweaks in the training that they've done, whereas...
Well, we alluded to the different day off, didn't we?
That too, but also the amount of running they're having to do in training has been reduced, and they're focusing on smaller sided action and playing a bit more football. And so that's helped. You can see that they've got more legs, haven't you? When, especially in the Premier League, you're playing against world-class players and getting the run around. And, as wonderful as the Arsenal game was, you should have got something out of that if you were playing in the way Luton are playing now and then, lost it. And that's a big change, I think, because you can't, you have to be able to play 98 minutes almost anymore. It's not as bad as it was in the Premier League last season where you're getting 10 minutes and stuff, but you're still having to look at that board that gets put up in 90 minutes and go, you've got to keep going and keep going. And that's really important. But on the flip side of it, as well, I feel like there's more of a sense that you can go and get a goal. Now, it hasn't always materialised so far because we've been winning by ones or drawing by ones, but the 3 goals there is a massive feather in the cap in that regard, I think, and hopefully that means that they know they can go and get more goals now.
Yeah, this team is massively, massively improving in front of our eyes. Yeah, I know that we lost at home to Blackburn, but I said it right at the start of this 8-game swing. We were not going to go unbeaten in these 8 games. No team in the Championship is going to go unbeaten in the last 8 games. It's a bonkers division. You've heard me say it all season. You win 2 games, you're in a much better position in this division than in any other division that you win 2 games in. And hey, we've now seen the fruits of that labour, haven't we? Having won back-to-back games for the first time since September, I believe, Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday. And that in itself highlights, how far we've improved. Second goal, so delighted for the skipper because he has carried that line so well. And I know there was an awful lot of social media hoo-ha because Matt called him magnificent in the build-up to the Derby game in the way that he leads his line. He wasn't talking about his goal-scoring record. If you read the articles that the guys have written or you'd listen to what Matt said, he was talking purely about the physicality with which he leads the line. And he does. He leads it really well. He has at least 2 beefcakes all over him every single Saturday, every single Tuesday night, and then he goes and does it again the following Saturday with little reward in terms of chances and playing football to his feet where he can do anything with it. But he does it for the team because it brings the rest of them in. Hey, against Derby, he had 3 of them on him, but he still didn't shirk it. And if you needed confirmation that he is carrying an injury, his thigh it had more ice than your beers on over the weekend on it when he went off towards the end. But
I think if I had ice in my beers, I might not have such a hangover.
There's your answer, Jimbo. You got to that age where you need to stick a few blocks of ice in it, water it down a wee bit. Maybe it's just my ciders that was getting watered down over the weekend, but hey, it was all good. You wait ages for a set-piece goal to come along in a season full of set-piece goals, and then 2 of them come along in 2 games, don't they? Because obviously the Derby goal was via a set-piece, Jordan Clark set-piece, and then the second goal that gives us the lead on Monday was via a Liam Walsh set-piece. His set-pieces were really, really good, weren't they? Corners and free kicks. He's just a classy operator, Liam Walsh. I do really like him. When he's got the ball at his feet, I kind of lift up a little bit because something's going to happen. Don't necessarily know what it is, but he's going to try and probe somewhere, and that's good. Anyway, the cross comes over. There's a bit of a melee. It ended up with Mengi heading it down, and Morris just slammed it home from close range, didn't he? And I think everyone at Kenilworth Road saw the relief on his face when they hit the back of the net.
And that's what it probably was going to take, something like that, something close range. He literally hasn't had that many chances. He's just not. He's worked his what's off to try and bring other players into the team, and it's made even doubly hard when he's lost Elijah to play off, because there was a foil there, and he could take, like against the Derby, when you've got three of them up against him, Elijah could take the focus of some of them. And yeah, he's been playing with the injury for a couple of months now. I think it's a wandering injury that keeps going around. I think he's he almost looked like he was done at half time, didn't he? In either knee or the ankle, and then he comes back out. And yeah, it's a credit to him. I think his celebration or lack thereof was just sheer relief, wasn't it? It looked like that on his face, and the rest of the players were all delighted for him. But we all know, we've seen enough goals, not enough this season, obviously, of Morris to know that when he scores a goal, he fully lives it. And I think that shows just, where his season has been. But you get measured on goals, as those comments from people about Bloomfield's press statements did. But there's a lot more to the centre forward play, and he's been doing all of that kind of thanklessly, really. So it was really important he got that goal, and he needed to get one, and an important one, I think. Ultimately, it's won the game, isn't it? Whereas, Izzy Jones seals it, but that's won the game. So that's a really important, step in his season.
Yeah, that's right. Morris, obviously the game winner. Izzy Jones was the saving me from aging another 10 years, 3 days after I aged 10 years at Derby sort of goal. We're starting to play some nice football, Jimbo. We're not just lumping it long and everything. Of course, when conditions dictate that we have to lump it long, or the opposition are that good that, like Leeds, that you're not going to beat them in a game of football, then we do go really, really long. But we more and more in isolated patches in games, we're starting to play some really nice football. We played some lovely stuff in that first half against Derby on a pitch that I thought they'd transferred half of Blackball Beach in there. And certainly the corner in front of us was all sand, wasn't it? I do not know what's gone on there, but whatever it is.
Times the ball just went into that sandy area, and it should have just bounced off the pitch, and it held up loads. It actually helped Luton in the first half a little bit, and I thought they'd play more into that and get some joy of it in the second half. I didn't quite see as many as Luton were getting away with.
Yeah, there was one in the first half that Fanny rolled a ball into Cal Naismith, 10-yard pass along the floor. Now, Naismith's touch is impeccable, but it jumped up at him, caught him on the shin and bounced off him, and he had to sprint, actually, to stop the guy getting ahead of it, and I think he just nicked it away from him and got fouled. But don't know what happened there. But anyway, we are playing some really nice stuff. None more so than the third goal on Monday, because that was a lovely little move. And you could see Jones's intent with his run that something was going to happen. And then the way that Lamine takes the defender out of the way and just nudges the ball back into Jones, it was then, now how's your composure? Obviously, we had Harry Cornick in the stands, and you kind of think back to the times where he would go through one-on-one, and you're praying and you're watching it through closed hands and things. And I've got to be honest, when he hit it, I thought he'd missed, but he didn't. He hits the underside of the crossbar off the post and in, and Kenilworth Road just lit up, didn't it? The relief in the stands that we're not going to surrender this 3-1 lead. We're playing too well today. Like you say, we can now enjoy the last, I don't know what minute it was scored in 75, something like that. We can enjoy the last 15, 20 minutes, and we did. It was great. He's a real player, isn't he, Izzy Jones? His defensive work we don't really highlight on this podcast because he's nothing flashy in his defensive work. He just uses his pace to get in front of whoever's attacking him and doing that sort of stuff. So we probably should highlight it more. But to be fair, the centre halves deserve the recognition that we're giving them. But going forward, scored the goal against Leeds again. That could be a massive, massive point. Put the cherry on the cake just to ease the nerves, because the players wouldn't have wanted to go through another 15, 20 minutes of backs to the wall stuff like they did against Derby. Yes, we know they can do it. So much easier when you got a 2-goal lead to defend, though.
He's another player that has really been important in this run under Bloomfield, and I still think he can improve his final delivery a lot of the time. But he's not only not missed that goal, he's scored it in the best way possible. There's nothing better than thwacking it in off the crossbar and the post. The only other better thing was in the old days when you could get the ball stuck in the stanchion. They don't have those stanchions anymore. But yeah, great finish, and even a bit of fortune in the way it sort of got through. I know there was some work from Lamine, but yeah, the defence was so dominant in the first half that Bristol City won, and not always legally, but they were. that just sort of rolled through, and it just feels like now, and hopefully that's not the end of the luck, and it can continue until the end of the season, that it feels like Luton are getting the rub of the green now. And maybe a couple of months ago that would have hit the crossbar, come out, and then it slightly more nervous ending to that game, but it gave us that buffer, and there was a lift. Then there was almost like a collective sigh of relief that went, we've got this now, and that means everything for the last 2 games of the season.
And the songs were coming out that I mentioned at Stoke. They're being sung with belief and true sort of convincing that we are gonna do everything that they're singing about. Now you're going to believe us, town is staying up. It's not being sung as a token gesture, as just to get you through the afternoon now. It's being sung with genuine belief in amongst them terraces that the town are going to stay up. It's now in our own hands. We'll come on to that in a second, because I just want to mention a couple of other things.
And while you're on the subject of the songs, before you go off, kudos to the people that have got into the circulation that Asgard and the Ali songs.
Zombie, isn't it? Yeah.
Chef's kiss, belters. Well done, Luton.
Zombie, yeah, for the alley one, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. That was we had about a 15-minute walk to where we parked at Derby, and 10 minutes into that walk, I was still hearing that song from town fans that are going in all sorts of different directions. Absolutely, I cannot say how much I loved Friday. Got to be honest, could have been a bit easier on the old ticker, but do you know what? I said a couple of podcasts ago they'll finish me off, this team, and they will do. But what a great way to go if we go having won an away game. Like that. Matt Bloomfield said we're not going to play anything from Matt after Bristol City. There's a lot of editing going on in this podcast, and as I mentioned at the start of it, time is kind of the essence because of the presentation evening. But he mentioned to you guys that he made a tactical switch at half time. Now, the tactical switch was fairly obvious. So, obviously in the first half, everything that we was putting forward, Dickie was heading away. With the long throws that were coming in, Dickie was heading away. So instead, we went down the channel in that second half, and we went through Izzy Jones. The geezer who played left wing back for them, McCrory, I think he was called, he played right back at their place. So I'm assuming that they've got some left-sided injuries. In fact, Pring went off, didn't he, early on in that game? So maybe they switched over. It was clearly playing out of position. It was down that side that the first goal came from. The cross came over that Millie Ali was taken out in, and then obviously Asgard followed in. We won a corner from that side for the second goal, and it was down that side that Izzy Jones had. Well, that pitch just opened up like the parting of the Red Sea, didn't it? And clearly, whatever he saw, whatever he did, was that, because we went to Jones all the time. This is a side, don't forget, that it's ingrained in its DNA that it attacks down the left-hand side because of we've all used to having Alfie there. To do that for 45 in the second half and having the rewards, we've got ourselves a tactician as well as a motivator on our hands.
I think so, because you can't just have all your eggs in the Doughty basket, especially if, he's been out he's now out for season ending. He was out for a very long period earlier on in the season. And it was a great tactic in the Premier League. The Premier League defenders almost couldn't handle it. That balls into the box, it's like they'd never seen the like. But that's not the Championship at all. And you need different strings to your bow, and he's brought that. Don't forget that while he has sorted out the defence in this side, but his Wickham side this season and a bit towards the end of last season were high scorers, and that's the sort of thing I think is the next step. Whether it happens in the next 2 games, who cares as long as we win? But I think long term, that's the next step for Matt Bloomfield. And you've got to look at what he's done now to turn this team around from we thought were down at various points of the season because they weren't showing the fight required. And he's changed that around, and he's changed everything. And to the point where we get to the Bristol City game now, and suddenly 3 goals for the first time under him. And that seems like an important milestone in the evolution of Luton under Matt Bloomfield. So there's a lot to look forward to under what he can bring. And I think that was always going to be the case. We were looking at the Colchester side, we were looking at the Wickham side. And yes, it took 2 months for both of them to get going. And arguably that was 2 months too long for Luton. And we remains to be seen whether that pays off or not. Hopefully it does. It's in our hands, as we say. But the long term looks pretty good under him.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, if the next 2 weeks go to plan, then we can kind of just forget about the fact that Rob wasn't sacked when many think he should have been sacked, because even if Matt Bloomfield comes in 6 weeks earlier or whatever it was, the difference between Middlesbrough and when he was actually sacked, we're only going to finish 15th or 16th. So if we finish 21st, there ain't a great deal of difference. So we can kind of level that out and sort of focus on maybe the other areas of concern to ensure that this season doesn't happen again. Again, we'll do that at the end of the season. We're focusing purely on the Great Escape, which is very much on now. It really is. The Town are playing their best football at the stage of the season where we need to be playing our best football, i.e. right now. As Jimbo said it, I'll say it again, that was our best performance of the season on Saturday. Yes, Watford was great, and yes, we were so dominant against Watford it was untrue, but that was a shadow side that we were playing against. They didn't turn up. They were there in bodies, but they didn't fancy the job. They never do fancy the job. Bristol City did. They were popping the ball around really, really nicely in that first half. They're a dangerous side. They went to Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago and got a point, and they deserved a whole lot more there. They're a really, really good side. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they go to Leeds on Monday night and get something from that game, such as how I rate them based on what I saw in that first half in particular on Monday. So we're playing our best football at the right time. That's the first box that you have to tick to get out of the Great Escape. Can't be slumping now. Unfortunately, everyone else is, but that's fine, because it's now firmly in our hands. It is official that if the Town win our last 2 games, and yes, we've got to go and do it, but if the Town do win our last 2 games, we're a championship club next season. And you can't ask for any more than that based on the trials, tribulations and struggles that we've had so far this season, Jimbo.
That sounds beautiful, doesn't it? And, the performances have been such and the results have been such, 5 wins in 10 games, 3 draws in it, I think, as well. That's remarkable form. We've got fight, heart, desire, but we've also got a little bit of luck, but also momentum, playing good football and winning games. And that is crucial at this stage of the season. And it's just the fact that, every time we've had that chance to get out of the league, out of the bottom 3, of the league, that the other teams around have got the results that haven't meant that. But we're in a wonderful position now, because you can't ask for anything more than to have it in your own hands and to get to go to Coventry at 12:30 and hopefully do the job. And then Derby and Hull have got to play each other. It could be a hell of a weekend.
It absolutely could, yeah. We'll come on to what we want from all them other games and everything else in a minute. Just a few individuals from the Bristol City game. I mean, you guys gave Tello Asgard the Man of the Match award. I'm assuming that that's picked early on in the second half, because Liam Walsh was a growing influence on that game throughout.
Well, can I tell you about how that works? Is because they don't tell us beforehand you're going to pick the man of the match. It sort of get to the final 5 or 10 minutes and then who do you reckon's the man of the match? And we don't do it all the time. But it was a toss-up. It could have been 3 or 4 players, very good. But I think leading the pack was Tello Asgard and Liam Walsh. Now, Liam Walsh had that tackle and he was spraying the ball about everywhere. Tello Asgard was doing some wonderful things and linking the play, and then he scored the goal, obviously. At the very time we got asked about who's going to have it, Tello Asgard has some wonderfully determined play right in front of us in the press box, and I'm sorry, I think that's what swung it.
Unlucky Liam Walsh, he's just got to do some determined play, mate. I mean,
it's so harsh, because that, it was one of his best points. If I could have given it to Liam Walsh, Asgard, McGuinness again, Makoso is even a shout for Morris. I reckon you could have given it to all of them, and they'd all have deserved it. It was that good a performance all round.
Yep, that is the thing. Every single player is suddenly playing really, really well. Every single player, whether they're coming in cold like Cal Naismith, whether they're regulars who are coming back into the team like Liam Walsh, whether they're the ones that are going out. And unfortunately, Jordan Clark picked up an injury at Derby that, because there was no press conferences in the middle, no one sort of knew. We knew he went off, and you kind of thought, well, maybe something's up there, but it was so late in the game that maybe it was just to bring on fresh legs, was what we were thinking at the time. I think the vibe is that they're hoping he's going to be okay for the weekend, and maybe more will come out of that when Matt does his press conference. Although those of you that are the presentation evening on Wednesday evening, I'm sure you'll ask Clicker how he is and check that everything's okay and things like that. Let's move it on to Coventry then. I don't think I need to remind anyone, Jimbo, of the last time we played Coventry late in a season, what happened.
Well, I think you should. Let's go down memory lane.
Let's do it then. Yeah, it was at a certain stadium in London on still the best day that I've ever had supporting this football club, and probably ever will have supporting this football club. Obviously, I'm talking about the playoff final. It was just, fantastic. The memories of it, we'll remember them. Whatever happens over the next 2 weeks, those memories will always be cherished, and would certainly much rather remember those memories than the memories of the reverse fixture this season.
Yes, and my sort of cautious instinct, again based on the experiences we've had for such a very long time, is that I'm worried about the game. But then if you look at it, Plymouth have gone there and have played against them and got a result at the weekend. And we did score 2 goals up there. It's just the fact that we couldn't defend. And we couldn't defend for a long time until Bloomfield came in and sorted it out. And so if you look at it like that, yeah, you can score goals against that team. But now, how many teams are cutting Luton open? Bristol City didn't do it. They had to rely on a worldie. Yes, one very good save from Kaminsky, but you'd expect him to get that block on. It was Tanner again, wasn't it, the bloke who scored?
And then thankfully he skied the rebound.
Well, yes, exactly that. So when you look at it like that, I think you should be every confidence that, they've got to come here as well. They've got to play in the same way that Bristol City had to get in that playoff mix. And maybe that is the difference, that we shouldn't be too worried. I'm sure there'll be nerves. Of course there'll be nerves. But we're at home. Got to make the Kenilworth Road count. It was quite quiet a little bit in the first half against Bristol City. It's got to be, full on. But I've got a lot more confidence that this team can go and do something. They are one of the form teams in the division, and that is ridiculous to say. It's ridiculous.
It is. Yeah, we can't actually really believe what we're seeing, even though we're absolutely loving what we're seeing, of course. Yeah, should just say 12:30 kickoff for this one. I'm sure all of you realised it is sold out now. So if you haven't got a ticket for the home ends in the ground on Saturday, Sky Sports Football is now your channel. They've switched it round because Burnley have already got promoted. They were meant to be the main TV game. We're now on the main TV channel. So those of you that need to watch it on television, Sky Sports Football, just get yourself down the pub. You'll enjoy it a hell of a lot more with a few ales inside you. Probably going to be one of those where we all need a few ales inside us, so it's a bit of a shame that it's an early kickoff and don't really get the chance to do that, but it's going to be a good one, Jimbo. It's going to be a good one. This is everything we've wanted this season, right? Let me rephrase that. This is everything we've wanted in recent weeks for this season. Of course, no one wanted to go into the season needing to win your last 2 to stay in the division. We wanted to win the last 2 to get out the other end of it, but once we all appreciated where we were and everything, this is what we wanted. The last home game of the season, for all the marbles to take to the last game in your own hands. If you're not a football fan who gets up for this, you need to go and watch rugby, really.
I am. I'm just really, really looking forward to it, because the momentum is such a key thing, and we've got it now. And even, the fact that Blackburn result happened and we were buzzing about going to that game and it didn't happen, it was flat and everything. It was the 3rd game of a 3-game week, and that's something that needs to be sorted out for next season. But that's not going to be this scenario. I mean, technically it might be.
I mean, it is, isn't it? But a 3-game week's generally Tuesday to Saturday in between. This is Monday afternoon to Saturday, and also it was Friday beforehand. So it's the third game in 8 days, isn't it? As opposed to three games in a week. But you are right to bring it up, because there is that kind of doubt. Do you know what the best thing I can say to Matt Bloomfield, and I might even say it to him if I see him at the presentation evening? Weeks are dragging. Weeks are dragging again, because I want to be at the football on the Saturday. Earlier on in the season, weeks were passing me by like I was changing the calendar every day. It was just bonkers because I weren't really looking forward to it. Now, I have never experienced the 3 days that have gone as long between Derby and Bristol City. It was not coming around for love nor money, Jimbo. And nor is this week, to be honest. And we've got a presentation evening in between it.
That's why I went to the pub, but yeah, that's a story for another day. But that's the thing, isn't it? That's the whole vibe around the whole situation, the whole club, the season. I think it's changed. And if you don't think that, I'd love to hear why in the comments. I understand sort of being, reticent about the results because of what's gone on historically. That's all very valid, I think. But if you just take this block of 10 games that have happened, and really 2 months, where the changes have begun to happen under Bloomfield, I think that if you really examine those, and I think you should be relatively confident. Now, listen, it's a game of football. Anything can happen, of course. But I have said many times, I am a recovering curmudgeon from a long line of pessimists. But if even I am thinking, bring this on, then I think that probably you should get on board.
Yeah, you absolutely should. Yeah, and listen, for all of you that's going to come at us, we're not celebrating the season or anything like that. If we stay up, the season's still a failure based on the expectations that were given to us at the start of it. But hey, we can rebuild in the Championship, and that's where we all want to be. None of us want to be watching League One football. I watched some League One games over the weekend. Got to tell you, folks, standard ain't great in it, and not particularly enjoyable, although probably enjoyable for Nathan and co at the weekend when they absolutely battered Wickham, wasn't it? So, but anyway, Championship. It is a massive day, Saturday. It is an absolute... First thing I've got to say, we are going down to the last day, win, lose or draw. We cannot be relegated on Saturday. There is no jeopardy in that way that we can be relegated on Saturday. Not like when we went to Derby where, okay, we couldn't officially be relegated, but we were as good as relegated if they'd gone 6 points with goal difference ahead of us and all the other results that went our way. Whatever happens on Saturday, and let's hope it's a positive, and we're going to focus on that shortly, but even if it's not, whatever happens on Saturday, we are going to West Brom a week on Saturday with a chance of staying up. Saturday is all about whether we control the destiny of it or whether we have to go there and rely on other teams to do us a favour. And that's where it's in our own hands. We win on Saturday, we will be out of the bottom three going into the last day of the season. And it is doable, isn't it? Like you said, we went 2-0 up at their place. I think they're a better side now than they were at their place. They were in a confidence slump, weren't they? In fact, people were talking about Mark Robins getting the boot when we went up there. We gave him a stay of execution, didn't we, for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. But Frank Lampard's got them playing. They've flown up the table. They're in 6th on merit, I think, even though they've lost to Plymouth. To be fair, Plymouth's home record is very, very good. And if they had even a half competent away record, they'd be fine in this division. There's teams like Cardiff and Hull who are down the bottom because their home records are crap. They've got danger up front, which a month ago was scaring the absolute living daylights out of me. Now I'm kind of like, well, come on then, bring it on, because we've got a defence that can match you. Now I'm wondering, have we got that intricacies that can get in behind them like we had there? Because that was the one where Krause played that beautiful reverse pass to Elijah. Have we got someone who can do that? We probably have in Asgard or Walsh. We just got to get those two on the ball and worry them. They've got a few injuries as well, I think, Coventry. Certainly the goalkeeper, he's out for the season. I know that. Collins, who we encountered back in our League One and League Two days, he was at Forest Green when Danny Hilton slid in on him and tapped the ball in as he was going to clear it. He's in goal for them now. They've got 1 or 2 injuries, and it's just whether we can thread those passes and get in behind them and, impose ourselves on them. Like, we didn't really do it at their place. Those 2 chances were the 2 chances we had, really. But of course, we were away from home. That's absolutely fine. That for me is the question now. Can we go and do what we did to Bristol City to them?
Well, yeah, that is exactly it. But they will have to come out and play because they need the points as well. And I'm more confident now because of the way that you performed against Bristol City, and they had to come out and play, and they looked very useful on the ball. Albeit the reverse fixtures against the 2 were completely different. Like you say, bald men fighting over comb at Ashton Gate, but Coventry in that second half absolutely blitzed us, and it was shell shock. But in an ideal scenario, if Luke can do the same first half here against Coventry and go 2-0 up, I've got no qualms about this defence being able to hold out in the way that they got absolutely ripped to shreds in Coventry. So that bodes well. And I think when you've got Asgard now scoring, Ali scoring, Morris has got that monkey off his back and scored, Liam Walsh playing so well, you've got a question of whether Naismith can come back in somewhere, who knows. And even the boys that came off the bench against Bristol City, Burke was fantastic. Izzy Jones in the goals as well now. All of those things make you think that there is enough firepower there to get the job done.
Yeah, there was even someone called Nakamba on the bench on Saturday who didn't come on. He came on at Derby to finish the game off. Yeah, the defence at Coventry, you're right, we got absolutely steamrolled in that second half, didn't we? But the back three was Tom Holmes, and there's no disrespect to them at all. But this is just to highlight the difference in where we are defensively now. Tom Holmes, Mark McGuinness, Daiki Hashioka. On Saturday, it's going to be Christ Makosso, Mark McGuinness, and whoever he plays at left centre back. Could still be Ted Mengi, could be Cal Naismith, could bring Amari Bell in and put Millie Ali out. I don't think he'll do that one. But there's a lot of options that, again, with no disrespect to Tom Holmes, what we've seen in recent times, are a lot stronger than Tom Holmes. And of course, it was Tom Holmes who got sent off that led to the third goal at their place as well, wasn't it? The defence they're going to be playing against on Saturday is vastly improved, not just in personnel, but in shape and organisation to the one that we went there with under Rob.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think that there's now more ways that Luton can score than it used to just be if free kicks and set pieces. And people still go on about it, and that's important. But Matt Bloomfield was asked on one of the TV interviews afterwards about that, and he's right that they've had more open play goals really than anything. So what they want to try and do is be able to balance the two and get more back into the groove of set pieces, because they are still a threat. And the amount of chances McGuinness has had of late and not got it on target, he's due one, isn't he?
I hope he's due one.
Well, yeah, and yeah, me too. So yeah, I think that when you've got Izzy Jones and the pace he's got, and Millie Ali, the pace he's got, didn't have that up there, and we still scored 2. So that bodes well for me. And the fact that all those players that I mentioned are now got goals very recently in this little run should usually, in terms of goal scorers, once you've got the one that you can kick on and get more, should sort of roll into the next game. And there must be huge amount of confidence, and maybe even the ending of the Bristol City game, when you've got 50 minutes to really enjoy that game and not feel tension, and get some of that out of your bones and your muscles and stuff. Maybe that plays a part as well. It all points to something very, very exciting, and I'm buzzing for it.
Yeah, what a day it's going to be on Saturday. So hopefully the town do the business in whichever way it comes, draw, win, whatever it is, it gets us out of the bottom 3. Let's assume that we've won for now. And then you've got Hull against Derby later on in the afternoon. So let's go through the permutations, and of course we'll know for sure when we do the review on Sunday. But then it's come on Hull, isn't it? It is 100% come on Hull, because then you go into the final game 3 points ahead of Derby. A draw will mean that Derby can't catch you. If you get a draw at West Brom, and we're not going to sit here necessarily and think that we're going to draw. We'll obviously go there with the intention of winning the game. But if you can get into an area where a point will do you on that last day of the season, knowing that our defence is that good now that it's not conceding more than 1 goal a game, apart from when weird stuff happens to it, then it's just on your team, go and score a goal, and you've got your point then to keep you in the division. That has to be the thing on Saturday. If Luton have won, get your Hull shirts on, become Hull fans, because if Hull beat Derby, the Great Escape is well and truly on.
Yeah, very much so. And it's been a couple of weeks that we have been level pegging with 1 or 2 of them up there. Just we've been in the bottom 3 on goal difference for a little frustrating while now. But that is exactly it. You take care of business against Coventry, and then, whatever happens in that, someone's dropping points. And if you can get to the position where you have to only go to West Brom, who I don't think can get in the playoffs now, and they've just got beaten by Derby and sacked their manager. You get into a position to go there, and 2 of 3 possible outcomes will do you. And that's what we want. I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago we were saying if we get to the stage where we just need to better Derby's results, then that's a great place to be in, because it felt for a while we were cut adrift along, 3 months ago. It felt like we were booking League One early, and there were those memes going around, weren't there, on social media about League One's calling and stuff now, and it's a totally different landscape now. And if you get, that would be the ideal scenario, wouldn't it? Beat Coventry, whole win. What a day we could have then at West Brom.
Absolutely, because if we do beat Coventry, we've got Cardiff out of the equation in terms of a point will keep us firmly above them as well. We would get to 50 with a win and a draw. Cardiff can only get to 49 if they win both of their last 2 games. You mentioned West Brom, Jimbo. Guess who Cardiff have got at the weekend? Come on, West Brom, don't sack off this season just yet. One more performance from you, then you can go to the beach as much as you like. And of course, it's not just Dustery, is it? It's not just Cardiff, Derby and Hull. Oxford and Preston have suddenly plummeted as well. That if we do win on Saturday, whatever happens in that whole game, even if Derby do win it, we'll be bringing those 2 right back into the equation, Oxford and Preston. And I mean, Preston have been on the beach since they got knocked out of the cup. If they don't suddenly come back from holiday, they're in big trouble, even though they've got 49 points. I mean, we thought mid to high 40s would be enough, and it should have been. Who could have foreseen all of the form that's been happening down at the bottom of the table, and every team in the playoffs seemingly can't win a game of football right now? But it's all shaping up for a right old ding-dong up in the Midlands on the final day of the season. But the important thing is we go there in control of our destiny. And if we win on Saturday, doesn't matter what else happens on Saturday afternoon, we're in control of our own situation. And going into the final game of any season, we didn't have it in the Great Escape. We still needed Barnsley to lose, I think it was. Going into any last day of the season, to be in control of your own destiny for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve is where you want to be.
Exactly that, and particularly with the sort of confidence that seems to be coursing through the side, it's everything that we thought for a while that it would go down to the last game.
Luton don't stay up earlier than the last game, boys. Yeah. Next time we get in this mess, and I hope we're not in this mess for a long time, get ourselves out of it a month or 2 early, please.
Yes, that would be the ideal. But to have everything in your hands at such a point where you're one of the form teams in the division, and enough of your attacking minded players are scoring goals, and the defence looks rock solid. That's everything. Like you say, you have to take it in isolation. Everything we dreamed of at the start of the season was totally at the other end of the table. It hasn't happened. But the worst scenario can be rescued here, and we don't need snookers.
No, we don't. No, exactly that. In our hands. Team changes Saturday, just quickly. Are you making any? I guess the obvious one is Cal Naismith. He's now available. We don't know about Jordan Clark. You'll know about Jordan Clark probably by the time you watch or listen to this. So let's just focus on Naismith. Does he come back in, and where does he come back in?
I would like to see him come back in because he's got that ability to pick a pass, but you can't equally. I don't think you can drop Liam Walsh in the way he played, and that's what happened at Derby. So I wonder whether there is a swap there potentially for the deeper lying Lamine role. Potentially, I don't think you need to mess about with the defence whatsoever.
You're okay with Mengi?
Yes, because the first game he came back in the second half performance, which is the Rovers one, wasn't it, where hardly anyone covered themselves in glory. He looked unbelievably rusty, but he hasn't in the 2 games since, and he's looked good, and he's looked at it and up for it as well. So yeah, I'd be happy with that, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Naismith for Lamine. It's probably not a game for a young lad, this. So much riding on this one. Experience is going to count. The good thing is you mentioned all the form and all the momentum and everything else. We're now bringing proper footballers off the bench rather than academy products as well, haven't we? You know, Matt's looked behind him a few times this season, as Rob did at this stage last season. Looked behind him and thought, not really sure that this is the situation for you. But now he looks behind him and he's like sport for choice, isn't he? He's, you know, it's like you in the shop across the road when you're trying to buy your chocolate bar. Which one are you picking?
Yeah, we haven't thank goodness we haven't got to an episode where we had to discuss chocolate biscuits or chocolate bars. I discussed briefly fence painting in the last.
You did. I was going to ask for an update on the fence by the end.
Some people weren't having it, and you know, I'm quite the contrarian, and if I hadn't had such the weekend I had, I might be peppering this with fence references. But yeah, come on, it's just a bit of fun in it. But
I got a lot of questions about your fence at Derby, Jimbo. I did. I've never seen said implement, but lots of people were asking me how the fence was getting on, and you know, have you painted it yet? So you know, the people want to know.
I can confirm to you, it is complete. It looks good. It looks beautiful.
No wonder you've had a good weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got soft pen pushing typing hands, so you know, any sort of manual labour is an achievement for me. But it looks good. So thanks for all the inquiries. And you know, if you didn't like it, come on.
Well, yeah, exactly. Lighten up. Cracker, this season's been hard enough work as it is, isn't it? Without a little bit of humour mixed in along the way where we can deliver it. Yeah, you're right. No biscuit chat, and we're hoping there'll be no biscuit chat. We'll probably do one in the summer, won't we? We love our biscuits and our chocolate bars. Hey, listen, we probably should have done chocolate bars over Easter, but the football was so good. We haven't had time. We're not going to do it. So that's absolutely fine. Score predictions. We'll finish the podcast off with score predictions, and then I'll give the shout-outs from the 2 Easter games because I forgot to do that earlier in the podcast. What are we reverse psychology for this time, Jimbo?
Well, I'd abandoned it, hadn't I? Because it hadn't worked. But actually, it has worked by the back door. It has worked. Somebody mentioned it to me. Hello to you. That mentioned to me straight after the game and said, "Is that the end of it?" But it has worked. So, do I get back on the reverse psychology train? Of course I do. Yep. It's going to be, I don't know, 79-0 to Coventry.
There you go, lads. 79-0. It isn't. Of course it's not. It's going to be a 2-1 win to Luton. And we're going to go to West Brom with everything in our own hands. And we'll know, of course, going to West Brom exactly what we need to guarantee our survival.
And you, in our little battle, I think you need 2 spot-on results, didn't you, to even just draw
I
level.
do. Do you know what? I genuinely thought I had a spot-on result at Derby, and then I saw Mark, who was obviously with us for the preview, and he told me I went 2-0, 1-0 rather than 1-0, 2-0. I could have cried, Jimbo. I could have cried.
Yeah. So we can.
I didn't actually have any energy left to cry, such was the emotional turmoil that I was being put through in that second half. But I could have cried.
So we can only share the spoils anyway. And if you get it spot on, then it's going to be a great weekend that 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely, it will be. Yeah, that is for sure. Similar case with our leaderboard. But before we get there, Derby, lots of you went 1-0 Luton in that game, actually. Steph Balls, 6-0-1-1. Andy Folds, 5-7-3-8. John Allen, 9-1-6-5. Nick White, 7-9-3-0. All went 1-0 to Derby in that game. Well done to you. And in the Bristol City game, Les Milo goes 3-1 Luton every single game, and he actually bets on 3-1 Luton every single game. Finally, at the 44th time of asking, they have obliged. So well done, Les, for 3-1 there. And Kevin Redmond, who was, I believe, is one of the Australia viewers that watches us. You also got 3-1 Luton against Bristol City. Well done to you two.
God, Les, you've been chucking money away if you've been going 3-1 in this season. I mean, hopefully not now, but yeah, in the Barron spell.
I know the feeling. I've been back in the centre half who keeps heading everything over the crossbar rather than in to score first. Leaderboard, no change right at the very top, but there is one that has closed the gap. So as you can see at the leaderboard that's on the screen now, 3 of you can still win the spoils if Claire T. Watts LTFC, he actually came up to me on Monday, Jimbo. Because I've been reading his YouTube name out literally in a one go. I've been calling him Twats LTFC. T Watts LTFC.
Oh, that's a big old...
That made me feel proper bad as well. I had a beer in my hand and I nearly dropped it. I don't drop beer, don't worry. If you two want to keep each other's scores away from each other, because you're the two main contenders, if you want to email me your scores, media, MEDIA, at lutontownsupporterstrust.com, I'll keep it up there. If you're happy to post them in the comments, that's absolutely fine. Whoever wins, I'll be in contact. We'll get some sort of price sorted out. Listen, there's been so much football, so much going on that we haven't been able to get anything, but we'll get something that fits the season-long bill, Jimbo.
I like that idea of keeping it a bit secret squirrel.
Yeah,
do that. That'd be interesting.
Because I don't think Claire is the kind that would just wait for the scores to appear and copy them so that she can't lose. But, if you want to do that, there is that option there, media at lutontownsupporterstrust.com, and I'll grab them from there for this game and the last one if there's anything to go by. Anything else to go with, Jimbo? You're happy with all that?
Very happy, much happier place to be, isn't it? And looking forward to that Coventry game and rolling into the West Brom game. And it's a position I didn't think we'd ever really be in. I'd prepared myself for the worst, and it could still happen. But somebody asked me, is the glass more half full now? And I said, mine's a pint if you go into the bar. So that's where I am.
And that's where you'll find me if we win on Saturday afternoon. That's for sure, yes. I don't need to say this, but I'll say it again because it generally worked when I have said it. If you have a ticket to the home end on Saturday, get that voice beautifully prepared, get it well oiled to go for 2 long hours on Saturday afternoon. Be loud, be proud, give these boys absolutely everything we've got. Make that atmosphere as rocking as only Kenilworth Road can rock. And let's cheer these boys on to 3 absolutely massive points in the Great Escape.
It's on, baby.
It is well and truly on. Yep. Get your correct scores into us. We've given you as much time as we possibly can to do that. We apologise again that we've condensed it all into one podcast. Life, events, dodgy scheduling, and everything else has just come back to haunt us on this one occasion. But we'll be back to normal for the review podcast, which will be out at the normal time early next week. And then we will lead up to what we hope will be the day that the town stay in the Championship at the Hawthorns a week on Saturday. Do keep your comments coming in and everything else, and we will cover the Player of the Season presentation evening in that review podcast that we do on Sunday. Jimbo and myself, we are aware of who's won it. You will be as well by the time you watch this, but we've gone over the hour mark, so we'll save that for the review podcast. Thanks to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. Loud and proud, please, boys. Every single person inside that ground, we've all got our own part to play on Saturday, and between us all, we can do this. Come on, you Hatters, the Great Escape is on.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.